Welcome to this edition of Morgan Asked For podcast. Tuesday night about 9:30. Get this out a little bit early this week, with tomorrow being New Year's Eve, and then obviously Thursday being New Year's Day. Bowl games, everything. Hawks play tomorrow morning. I'm just going to talk mainly. I've got my top three sports stories that are Iowa based, so they're not like national or anything else like that. I think they're pretty good. You're going to have people comment, tell me ones that you think should be in there or the ones that you'd kick out from mine. But I think number one is pretty obvious. We're going to not start there. We're going to start at number three. Number three is Iowa fires Fran McCaffery. And this was not all about what was happening on the basketball court. He was winning enough. He was getting to NCAA tournaments most years to warrant staying. He was the winningest coach in Hawkeye history. Now, some of that is just he'd been there a long time, I think 12 years. But it was the apathy. It was people had no confidence in him when it came to tournament time. He's never been to the Sweet 16 at any of his stops, not just at Iowa, at any of his previous stops as well. And the number one thing is the fans were not showing up to Carver Hawkeye Arena. And I think people were not giving money to the basketball program like they were to the women's basketball program and obviously to football. You can live with fans being upset. You can live with fans being angry, disappointed, but you can't live with fans that are apathetic and that just don't care anymore. It was just, they're going to play good offense. They're not going to play very good defense. And you're going to win more than you lose, probably get to the NCAA tournament, maybe win one game, but then you're going to be done. So that's my number three story this year in Iowa. And it goes into my number two story. My number two story is Ben McCollum. And I'm putting him just in general, coming from Northwest Missouri State to Drake and what he did in 1 year, winning the Missouri Valley, winning the tournament, and then winning an NCAA tournament game, an actual NCAA tournament game. I think DeVries won one of the play-in games against Wichita State. So that technically is an NCAA tournament win. But this one was, you were in the bracket, you won a game against Missouri, not another group of five or mid-major, against Missouri. And then they played Texas Tech and played them to a heck of a game. Ran out of steam at the end, but a heck of a game. And it showed how good he is and how good he can be. And just the surprise, it was mainly his Northwest team that he brought to Drake and able to turn it around, keep it going. Actually, it isn't turning around at Drake. Keep what Darren DeVries was doing and just actually going farther than DeVries did. So that's my number two. And then, then he turns that into the Iowa game. Now, you asked Ben McCollum if he thought he'd be the Iowa coach after 1 year at Drake, he would have said no way. But circumstances happen. Beth Goetz makes the change. They make the call. Don't know who else they called. Doesn't matter. He got the job. And now he's an Iowa coach doing really well with a lot of those same players. And brought most of the Drake team. Like to see his paycheck when he was at Northwest Missouri State to what it is today. I bet it's a little bit better. I think we'd all like that raise in 2 years. But that's what happens when you get a chance. When he was at Northwest, and as long as he was really good there, multiple national championships, he had opportunities to leave. He was waiting for the right jobs. He's from Iowa. He must have thought that Drake job was a really good job. He waited for that one. I think he had wanted that job before. And then, obviously, the Iowa is his dream job, I think. Now, do I think he's going to be there 25 years? Nope. No coaches are. Do I think TJ Altenberger is going to be at Iowa State for 25 years? Nope. Hope they stay a while. Hope they do really well. I think he is doing really well. As an Iowa State fan, the Hawkeyes are going to be a handful going forward. Under McCaffrey's time, Iowa State does hold a lead on Iowa. Now, Iowa has beat Iowa State plenty. And a couple times when Iowa State was really good, Iowa just put it to them. But Iowa State does had a decisive advantage over Iowa during McCaffrey's time. But I think it's going to be a dogfight between him and Otzelberger, McCollum and Otzelberger going forward. And that's what you want in a rivalry. You want it to be a coin flip every game. Whoever makes a few less mistakes, a few more plays in basketball, football, every sport. That's what you want it to be. You don't want it to be in football 42-3. You don't want a 25-point win in basketball every year. That's no fun. You want it to be back and forth. Now going into number one, and I'm pretty sure this will be the number one story for almost every podcast / TV show, Pat, whatever medium you hear, and it is Matt Campbell to Penn State. It is on this show. It is on most every show that I've listened to. Most of them are coming out tomorrow or Thursday with their end of year, Happy New Year, best of, whatever. But it is the biggest story. And honestly, right now, it's becoming one of the bigger stories in the country. Not so much Matt Campbell leaving, but what is happening to the roster at Iowa State. With, I think, as of right now, 9:30, there's 43 or 44 players in the portal, which means with the seniors that have graduated, I believe that's only like 16 or 17 players left on the roster. And then kind of going, so the number one is Matt Campbell going to Penn State. Right under it, just kind of underneath it as a bullet point, 43 players to the portal. That's when I wrote this earlier. I think it is a couple more now. And then no bowl game. Iowa State is not flush with bowl appearances or bowl championships, whatever you want to call them, and them turning it down. I think it's a really big story. They're not Notre Dame. Notre Dame has been to every bowl game there is. They've got multiple national championships. They played in the playoff. They played in the BCS games. They played in the New Year's Six. Iowa State's been there one time in a New Year's Six, never been to a playoff, been to a championship game twice. I mean, we're not talking about a who's who of bowl games in Iowa State's history. But I think what we're seeing right now is why they're not going. They have no coaches and they have no players. Just with the player movement, you can't blame anybody. It is what college sports is about. It is about money. And you do sign up to play for a coach. You do not sign up to play for a school. There are some people, like Connor Mobley is coming back. Southeast Polk, close to home. I think you always like the Cyclones from what I know. I don't know a lot. I could be wrong there, but I think he grew up a Cyclone fan. So he's a guy that wants to stay at Iowa State. Now, I think what has happened, I do think the number that signs to Penn State is bigger than a lot of people think. I think it is 15 guys, maybe even more than that. And I think Penn State people are not going to be happy with that number, but I do think there's going to be more people from Iowa State to Penn State than you think. But where are the other 25 guys going or 30 guys going? And for some of them, it's a bad move. There's no doubt about it in my mind. They are not going to find a place as high profile as Iowa State, as they might go end up playing for, and maybe you could say that it's better. I mean, Tulane made the playoff this year. Maybe Tulane is a better place than Iowa State. I don't know, but they're looking for more money. And then the other thing, I think Jimmy Rogers has told some of these players he doesn't want them. I really do. And I think that's more than people think. And that's a little sad to me. If and I'm a little disappointed in Iowa State and Jimmy Rogers for not coming out and talking a little bit more on this process. I understand you're not going to go individual and say, hey, we tried our best to keep him and he just wanted to go. I understand that, but just, when some of these guys that I don't think are going to Penn State are leaving, and kids that are freshmen from Iowa that aren't here anymore, that, hey, we offered them this and they didn't want to stay, or we came out and said we didn't want them. They don't fit our scheme. You right or wrong, Deion Sanders came into Colorado and said, I'm bringing my own luggage. A lot of people didn't like that, but Jimmy Rogers is doing the same thing. He just didn't say it in public. And I don't see how, and I really hope I'm wrong, but I don't see how the quarterback, the tight end, the running back is going to be as good as Rocco Bramer and Carson Hansen. They're not. I don't see how the defensive players are going to be as good as Marcus Neal and Caleb Bacon, Jamison Patton. I don't think they will be. And I hope I'm wrong in that. And that's what makes this so frustrating is these guys are leaving and knowing we're not going to get as good as players in return. And we're getting all these flip commitments from Washington State signing. And all of our most of our signees are going to Penn State. I saw a guy, he's coming to Iowa State. He had an offer from Washington State, Oregon State, and Idaho. That doesn't get me excited. I'm sorry. Now, I did see one kid that was Arizona, Colorado, and Arizona State. That one's better. Those are teams we're playing against. I'm okay with that one. But we can't win like we want to win with players that are offered by Idaho and Oregon State, in my opinion. You have to beat out other Power 4 teams to get the players we need to get. And then here's my other question. It's very obvious that Jamie Pollard did not want any of Matt Campbell's staff here and any of Matt Campbell's players here, in my opinion, or else he would hire Taylor Mauser. So this might not even be a Jimmy Rogers thing. This might be a Jamie Pollard thing. Hey, we've got to flip the page. And we don't know if this is going to work for 3 years. Look at Arizona. Arizona last year, 2024 season, was bad. Coming into this year, Brennan is on the hot seat. They went 9-3. Now, Iowa State put it to them. That's when Iowa State was still playing really well. But they finished 9-3 on the season. And what Arizona did is they tried to keep their players from their old coach with their new coach, and it didn't work. He cleaned house after year one, came back with his guys, and then won this year. So maybe we're just not delaying it. We might struggle this first year, and then we've got our guys ready to go for year two. And then here's another thing that I think might happen. I think is happening in the program. A kid like Cooper Ebel, or Cale Brazina, guys that I wanted to come back. I think they're good players. Hey, what are your intentions? Hey, coach, I want to stay. It is a money game here. Coach, I want $125,000. Hey, we're only going to give you $57,000. All right, see you, I'm out. So maybe they did want to come back, but this coaching staff did not value them like Matt Campbell's did, or they think they're worth more money than this coaching staff thinks they are. Can't blame them that way either. It's not so much, I don't want you here. And I'm sure that has happened, especially defensively. If you look at who's in the portal from Iowa State, it is all the linebackers and all the DBs. The D linemen, some of them are coming back. Not all of them, but some of them. We're playing a different scheme. We need more D linemen, less linebackers, less DBs. So I think all those players are like, I have to learn a new scheme. I'm not going to play, maybe not play as much. I'm out. And so they value different players differently in the Jimmy Rogers scheme. But I want Jimmy Rogers to come out and talk. You know, Iowa State has the second most players in the portal behind Oklahoma State. Well, Oklahoma State's a little bit they fired their coach. They wanted they were really bad. They hadn't won a Big 12 game in 2 years. And yes, their coach is bringing in a new guy, but they wanted this change. Iowa State did not want this change. And Iowa State has better football players than Oklahoma State right now. I don't think they will next year. I think Oklahoma State's going to be better next year than Iowa State. Because right or wrong, every list that you see on the internet or people talking on shows, they list the top 5 or 10 coaching hires. Jimmy Rogers is not on it. Ever. Not even in the top 10. Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to work out. But they are cleaning house, whether it's Jimmy Rogers' idea or Jamie Pollard's idea, or both. But this is going to be really difficult and different for a lot of Cyclone fans. It's going to be interesting. Laura and I were talking about this when we get our season ticket renewal date where we pick our seats. And if I'm able to move to better seats faster than I've been every year I can move a little bit. Wonder if my jump's going to be a little bit more if we keep donating the same amount and need the same amount of tickets. If there's going to be some people that say heck with it. And then the other thing is after last night's basketball game, TJ Otzelberger, I read into it that he's not happy with some of the talk about Iowa State athletics. I think there's a lot of Iowa State average fan that are fed up with donating money, with all the stuff, with all this change. And when you donate to the We Will Collective, now I think you can say that's for football, it's for basketball, but I would say most people probably just give it to We Will and then let the athletic department put it to use, or Brent Bloom before, or whoever it is. And if people are not doing that because of football, well, that's going to affect basketball. And then guess what's going to happen? TJ Otzelberger will leave. And we're going to do this all again in basketball. Now, basketball is different. Even with Otzelberger, we've had 6, 7 new players every year. That is basketball. Basketball does this faster and more. Players have transferred in basketball much more frequently than football for the last 10 years. I mean, he's had 7 new players almost every year he's been the coach. But just think if he would have came into this year without Taman, without Jefferson, and without Milan, and then had to bring in all those other guys, we would not be number 3 in the country. We would not be looking for a Big 12 championship regular season, vying for a number 1 seed. last year we were on the same path as this year. Some injuries got us. As long as Iowa State stays healthy, they have a chance. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but they have a chance. So those are my three. Number 3, Iowa fires Fran McCaffrey. Number 2, Ben McCollum to Iowa and what he did at Drake. So kind of Ben McCollum as number 2 with both of his thing, the Drake and the Iowa situations. And then number 1 is Matt Campbell with subsets of 45 transfer portal and then no bowl game. Now, I do want to talk about football. This is just football in general a little bit. I just ended right now in the Alamo Bowl, which I've actually just on my memories and stuff here. I had 7 years ago, Iowa State was in this game against Washington State, and my mom and dad and Paige and Tyler and I all went down and watched it. It was really fun. San Antonio is a great city. So just some pictures. So watching this game was fun, and I've got the sound off here. TCU was ahead. I don't know what's happening right now, but Tennessee just lost to Illinois on a last-second field goal in the Music City Bowl. Tennessee returned a kickoff for a touchdown to take the lead with about 5.5 minutes left. I looked over to Laura. I told her, I go, Illinois is going to have a chance to win. It's too much time. Sunday night against San Francisco and Chicago, when San Francisco scored their touchdown with like 2:12 left, I think it was, I said, the Bears are going to have an opportunity to win this football game. I was right both times. It is amazing how defenses cannot stop anybody in the last 2 minutes. It doesn't matter if they're really good or really bad. It's just at the end of game situations. You know, the week before, the Bears hadn't done anything and scored 2 touchdowns right at the end of the game to get the win and get the win in overtime. A couple touchdowns and a field goal with now they got the onside kick. But when teams have to score at the end of games, Buffalo Bills on Sunday hadn't scored all game, scored twice, didn't get the 2-point conversion to win it. But I don't know what it is, but defenses cannot stop offenses in the last 2 minutes of a game. I think it's the rules. I think it's just offenses are just so efficient now where they don't have to huddle. They just call concept after concept. And for the most part, a lot of these plays are just backyard plays. They've got really good athletes everywhere. And when you know where you're trying to run and you're just running a route, and as long as the quarterback and receiver are on the same page, there's nothing that a DB can really do. And it's just offense is really fun to watch, but it's really frustrating the entire game when the offense can't do anything. And then all of a sudden, with 5 minutes left, they score 2 touchdowns. It's like, why can't you do that all game? So I don't know if the offensive coordinators just need to open it up earlier, or their defensive coordinators need to figure it out. I don't know if they're playing too soft, don't want to get beat on one play, but they were talking, you know, there's something to be said where if there's a minute 45 left and you still have a couple timeouts and they're at the 20-yard line, let them score. Give yourself a minute and a half to go down and try to score a touchdown. But maybe that's what's bugging me today is just offense or defense in the last 2 minutes of a football game. I do want to thank everybody for listening, tuning in. 2025 has been a great year. Love doing this each week. Trev and I talked to Trev and Zach to do this today. It didn't work out, is what it is. And that's okay. I'm here to do it. I really like doing it. I like talking just to whoever listens. And I was talking to my uncle today. He was driving through Texas, and he asked, what's the best way to listen to this? And he listens to TuneIn Radio. So I sent him the TuneIn link. So really, wherever you listen or wherever you watch, YouTube's a great place. Just thank you very much. Have a great, safe New Year. I think the weather's going to be okay here in Iowa. But always be safe, be careful driving. But nope. And then also January 2nd, Friday, I will be at the Casey's Center, Pekin basketball versus Highland for Pekin basketball, voice of the Panthers, Steve Shetler Media. And so if you are a Panther fan or just want something to listen to in the middle of the day on Friday, maybe you're driving around, Steve Shetler Media on Facebook or YouTube. Listen to my growly voice, calling high school basketball at the Casey Center. It's a really good experience for the kids. Most of them will never play in that kind of environment again. It gives them a little taste of that state tournament if they could get there. But really fun for the kids, especially noon game, so you can go enjoy the rest of the day in Des Moines if you go watching for those kids and everything. So thanks a lot for listening, watching, wherever you do consume this podcast. Have a great new year, and we'll be back in about a week.